Yo, welcome back to another video. I'm ready to get right into this. I'll talk while the video is going on. So this is Spider-Man 2 versus the original. We'll see which one is better. I think they're just about the same when it comes to shock value and positivity.
2018
I have not
Spider-Man
seen
was a
anything
great
bad
game.
about this
It
game
combined fluid
since it
combat
came
with
out.
sprawling sandbox
Before they
and
were
an
saying it
engaging
wouldn't be
story.
as
It's
great,
gone on to
but
become the
now
number
I have
one
not
selling
seen anything
PlayStation 4
about it.
game and is regarded as one of the best superhero games ever made. So naturally, its sequel was going to have big shoes to fill. And so in this video, we're going to be comparing the two games to see how Spider-Man 2 builds on its predecessor and try to figure out if it's better than the
Some of the
original.
takedowns
And
are the
yes, I will
same,
be going into
but you
story
expected
spoilers.
that.
Okay, let's start at the beginning. Now, the original game's opening showed Peter struggling to balance his personal life with being Spider-Man, and this game very much continues that theme. We start with Miles in class struggling to complete his college application. Meanwhile, Peter has found a new job as a high school physics teacher. Unfortunately, neither one gets very far with their civilian duties because the Sandman starts attacking New York. The duo suit up, and we get another seamless transition into web swinging. New York City looks better than ever. It's brimming with details, the traversal feels really smooth, and the colors really pop off the screen. Even compared to the PlayStation 5 remaster, there is a noticeable difference between the two games. Yes, Manhattan has for the most part been lifted from the original two games, but Spider-Man 2 expands the sandbox by including Brooklyn and Queens, where the two Spider-Men actually start the game. Now, the first game's strongest point were the big set pieces, starting with the Fisk Tower battle and boss fight. And this sequel really does elevate the definition of a big set piece. You'll be web swinging along, enjoying the new graphics, and then suddenly the clouds part to reveal a gigantic Sandman. After taking him on Shadow of the Colossus style, Peter is thrown inside one of the buildings where the game reintroduces the satisfying combat mechanics while throwing in some cool new upgrades. The game then seamlessly switches between Peter and Miles and back again as they take on the oversized villain. And just like the original, the opening strikes a perfect balance of over-the-top comic book action while introducing or reintroducing new gameplay elements. Also, they fly now. They fly now! Narratively speaking, Spider-Man 2 shows a great deal of character development when contrasted against the opening of Miles Morales, which also has both Spider-Man take on a famous villain. Only that time, Miles was still very green and unsure of himself. Now, both Spider-Men are equal partners, helping one another take down this larger-than-life foe. With the big opening set piece over, Spider-Man 2 follows in the blueprints of its predecessor and slows down the pace to let the player get familiar with the sandbox. No pun intended. Now, having all of Lower Manhattan covered in sand seems to both be a next-gen flex from the developers and also a novel way to freshen up the old map, similar to the snow in Miles Morales. The windows of the buildings around the city actually have people inside this time, and Insomniac really captured the grim reality and loneliness of living in a big city. Look, this girl is just sitting there staring at a blank TV screen, completely unaware of her neighbor, who looks exactly the same, doing the exact same thing. We're so close, yet so far away from one another. And speaking of PlayStation 5 exclusives, this game really does make great use of the DualSense features. The haptics really feel satisfying and give you just the right amount of resistance. And while you're web swinging through jets of water, you quickly realize that Spider-Man 2 isn't the type of sequel that's going to shake things up. Instead, it doubles down on expanding on all the content from the original. A larger map, shinier graphics, more moves, bigger skill tree, more suits, more gadgets, a ton of collectibles spread throughout the entire city, which range from Sandman memory crystals to more random photography. Right. Okay, come on, what's your OnlyFans handle? There's even variety in the start screens when you boot up the game. This is awkward. Are you gonna press the start button already or what? Or how about this one? What are they looking at? Oh, I see. Now, Spider-Man 2 is also packed with side missions which are accessible through Genki's app introduced in Miles Morales. And this is where we realize that Spider-Man 2 is equal parts sequel to both the original and Miles Morales. Elements, characters, and storylines from both games are continued in Spider-Man 2, and I must say the developers did a really good job of weaving them together. Now, when it comes to new abilities, the spotlight is very much on Peter's symbiote suit and all the cool powers associated with it, but Miles also gets a few cool powers of his own, own, expanding his Venom punch into full-on Emperor Palpatine lightning. Now, before we talk more about the characters, I guess we have to address the elephant in the room. I am genuinely puzzled by this change, because all the other characters do look the same. Sure, Peter has a thicker neck this time around, but his face is still the same, kind of. I mean, you get the point. And you can't really say that Insomniac forgot how to do women's faces because, well, Felicia still looks the same as she did before. To be fair, the character models in this game did look better in darker environments. Some of the brighter day scenes did make them look a bit flat. Now, as mentioned earlier, Spider-Man 2 definitely delivers on the big set pieces. Just like the original, these are strategically spread throughout the game's campaign, designed to deliver over-the-top action at just the right moment. From the Sandman sequence to Kraven's mercenaries attacking the prison boat and capturing all the supervillain inmates, to the Black Cat chase, which has Miles hopping in and out of portals thanks to Doctor Strange's magic disco stick. And these are just from the first half of the game. Things really get turned up to 11 once the symbiote gets involved, but more on that a little later.
I thought it was weird that he had wings, but, you know, it's a video game.
I think we can all
Plus,
agree
the
that
symbiote
Spider-Man's
can
2's
just
big moments definitely
create whatever.
rival its predecessor. However, the first game also had Peter spend quite a lot of time out of the costume in narrative-based sections, which helped expand the story. While Spider-Man 2 also builds on this. In addition to your typical slice-of-life sections like Peter chucking out old bananas, we also get flashbacks to young Peter, which also helps broaden his backstory and character. And the developers must have really played a lot of San Andreas during the making of this game, because suddenly we've got this bike section. Oh, Harry, let's turn around. This is
I think it was like two
sorry,
times.
never mind, I just clipped through them. Are you alright, sir? The puzzles and mini-games from the first game are also present, but the standout civilian section
You can
has
skip
got to
them
be
just like you could in the
which is a bit
remaster.
more tourist-friendly than the Game Boy Advance version, which was filled with evil clowns on unicycles juggling flaming chainsaws. No, this time around it's filled with a bunch of mini-games, and this entire section gave me very strong GTA 4 date vibes, only in that game you never ended up with a big Jamiroquai hat which you can still wear while beating up bad guys. This game is filled with unexpected surprises. For example, I never thought Miles would get his own DJ minigame. I expected there to be more MJ sections, sure, but I thought they'd be more LA Noire instead of Gears of War. I expected Venom to be a big presence, but I never thought you'd actually get to play as him as he destroys Times Square. And I must say, the Venom model really is on point. Just look at those supple buttocks. I wonder how he's gonna fit in the vent. Oh. Of course, Venom being the big baddie of this game, let's talk about the story. Now, the original game did a great job telling a true Spider-Man story. It had plenty of action and eye candy, but the characters and their relationships were always at the core of the narrative. Be it Peter making the choice to fight his mentor and save the city over the woman that raised him, or Miles offering to sacrifice his own life to save his community. Not only does Spider-Man 2 have to follow up two great Spider-Man stories, it would also have to do right by both characters. And I'm glad to say that this game's main campaign delivers. Not only do both protagonists get their time in the spotlight, but both their story arcs challenge and grow the characters while dovetailing into one another. After a decade of struggling to balance his life, Peter seems to have finally caught a break. Not only does his best friend Harry Osborn come back into his life, recovered from a terminal illness, but he offers Peter his dream job at a startup with limitless funds thanks to Big Daddy Osborn. Unfortunately, things quickly go to Harry is being kept alive by the mysterious symbiote, and after getting fatally wounded by Kraven, the symbiote jumps to Peter to save his life. At this point, we get the symbiote arc that we all know. Peter gets the black suit, it makes him stronger, but turns him into a dick, eventually corrupting Spider-Man. Now, these are all story elements that we expect as Spider-Man fans. However, the game follows on from the trend established by its predecessor by taking established characters and story elements from the canon and reworking them. For example, in this reality, Dr. Connors used the symbiote to keep Harry alive, and Harry became Venom instead of Eddie Brock. This way, the game gives us a fresh take on the storylines that we all know so well. And speaking of fresh, I definitely didn't expect Peter to fight a symbiote-ridden MJ while having a couple's argument.
You can't keep a job! You can't pay the mortgage!
Oh gee, she's this close to telling him he's got a small Insomniac also utilized the character of Miles really well in this
He literally
part. Not only
was.
does the symbiote create a rift
So
between him and
close, so
Peter,
close. We
but
could have had
Miles
it.
ends up being and the one who
You.
helps Peter get rid
All
of
I
it,
need to
further
hear was, "You
strengthening the
can't
bond between the
satisfy
two
me."
Spider-Men. But Miles is far from a supporting character in this game. He's got plenty of his own obstacles that he has to overcome. This time around, Miles is very much the one who inherits the burden of Spider-Man getting in the way of his personal life. Things get even more complicated when Miles confronts Martin Lee, the man who killed his father. There's a great section of the game where Miles has to confront his own fears and insecurities. Him and Martin Lee then team up and go inside Peter's mind to help him.
May's house.
No, that's not Aunt May's house, that's Kami house. Peter must be a big Dragon Ball fan. With
Kami house.
Spider-Man and
Oh, I get it, 'cause it's in the
having
middle of
conquered
the
their
river.
eternal demons, it's time to
You
take
just
on
watching
Venom for
Dragon
one
Ball Z,
final
and I didn't
boss
even think
fight.
about that.
Now, looking back at it, the first game's
Kami's
final
house.
boss fight against Doc Ock was pretty average. At least when it comes to gameplay, what really elevated it was the personal conflict of Peter having to fight his mentor. Now, this could have been your typical Venom fight, you know, the kind that takes place next to a convenient bell tower, or some kind of construction site with metal pipes that you can hit.
Switch to Chrome to stay in sync across
3,
devices. So your
2,
tabs go everywhere
1.
you go.
Well, Insomniac really decided to go all out. Not only is the entire city being consumed by the symbiote, similar to Devil's Breath in the original, but Peter has to make his trademark impossible choice: save the city or save the life of his best friend, as Harry won't be able to survive long without the symbiote. The developers also tried to expand the battle itself by having it set across a number of different locations.
I like how
each
even
bringing
after you finish
symbolism
the
from
game, you
Harry
still
and
gotta
Peter's
take it out
past. And
for the
personally, I
city
think
to
they
heal.
kind of dragged it out just a couple of health bars too long.
Heal
Actually, the
itself.
same can be said about a lot
Or,
of the boss
heal
fights
the
in this
world,
game.
or whatever they
Nevertheless,
were
the
saying.
ending still resonates with that bittersweet feeling that's typical of many of the best Spider-Man stories. Harry has one final good guy moment and convinces Peter to destroy Venom and the big space rock, thereby saving the city. Well, apart from all these Venom hives still dotted all around. Unfortunately, Harry's not long for this world without the slimy goo. Has anyone else noticed Norman wearing a lot more green recently? On a brighter note, Peter decides to retire from Spider-Manning for a while in order to restart the Foundation from his garage, while MJ becomes a podcaster. Oh yeah, the house is definitely going to get repossessed. Meanwhile, Miles finishes his college application, gets the girl, and takes over as New York's only Spider-Man. And so there we have it, Spider-Man
Again.
2 for the PlayStation 5. Now, at face value, it really does tick all the boxes of what a conventional AAA sequel should be. Better graphics, bigger world, more gameplay elements, broader story, and less of the stuff that didn't work the first time around. However, a point can be made that this sequel doesn't really introduce enough new elements of substance, instead doubling down on the ones that worked the last time. And while
Bro,
I do see that point,
what are you
I think
talking
this
about?
is more an issue with the character
I hope
and
he
lore,
realizes
as opposed
that
to
most
developers being lazy.
sequels
After all, Spider-Man is,
aren't even
at its
this
core,
this
a guy
much.
in a suit, web swinging around New York.
The
fighting
sequels
bad
are
guys
usually
and
just
dealing with personal
re-updated
drama. And
versions
deviating
of the
too
last
far from
game,
that risks
where
breaking
they
the
just add some
formula.
new
Then again,
skins and
Spider-Man Far From
a new
Home did it,
story.
and it
That's
seemed to
it.
work. So who knows, maybe the next game will be set in London. But what about the big question? Is Spider-Man 2 better than the first game? Well,
Yes.
objectively speaking, I think it kind of is. Not only does it broaden the scope in every way, but it also does so without breaking the established game, for the most part. However, judging video games on a universal objective scale is kind of hard. And the original Spider-Man, while smaller in scope, can be seen as having a tighter story and a more focused gameplay cycle. But that's just my take. Please let me know your thoughts on Spider-Man 2 in the comments. Did you like it? Did it live up to your expectations? And do you think it's better than the first game? As always, thanks for watching. Please
I might
consider
get back
supporting
on
me on
Spider-Man later
Patreon,
on
and
today.
a big thanks to all my
If we
existing
get enough
patrons.
views.
Also, if you've enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell.
Maybe.
Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.